Hello, hello. I have a very special episode for you guys today. I'm sitting down with amazing business coach, Julie Ciardi, and we're going to have a really powerful conversation. We're going to talk business strategies. We're also going to talk human design, gene keys, and many other things. So welcome, Julie, on the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. Before we kick off, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. I love having these conversations. It's as I share a little bit about my story, it was podcasts like this that helped me see what was possible. And so I love to share and to have this conversation. So thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Julie Ciardi. I have not always been an entrepreneur like most of us. I spent 20 years in corporate. I had a pretty traditional approach to career. It was, get my MBA, get a great job, and do as much as I could to climb the corporate ladder. And I did that for 20 years. And we can talk more about that story wherever you want to go. But I left IBM. I was a vice president of marketing at IBM. When I decided to leave, I was the primary breadwinner for my family of five and made the big, bold move in 2017. I made the decision. 2018, I left. And I've now been a full-time entrepreneur for almost 6 years. It's so incredible. I pinch myself sometimes. Although it was very scary roller coaster ride to get, to where I am right now. And what I do now, my mission, I'm sure the same is true for you and probably a lot of listeners, but in those 6 years, how I do what I do has shifted and evolved and changed. But my mission has never changed. And my mission in these last 6 years is to help women do the work that they were meant to do in the world and that lights them up. Because after I spent 2 decades not doing that, I really became an advocate, coach, mentor to help women really step into the work they're meant to do in the world. And that is what I get to do. How I do it has evolved, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, I've been podcasting for 6 years now as well. I have a podcast called Brand, and I love it. I think podcast is a great medium for us to be able to share and help others.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we'll dive deeper into all of them. But I guess I'm sure people listening right now will have, before we dive deeper into your business and all the juicy details there, let's just take us to that moment where, because I guess a lot of women, that my listeners, they will be in a very similar position. Maybe their business is a side hustle. Maybe they're already kind of ready to quit, not quite there. Maybe some have quit, maybe have like finished their corporate job, now having second thoughts. So I think there's going to be certainly a lot of women listening right now who probably will really resonate with your story. So take us to that moment. You breadwinner for the family. The life is good. What is that moment to get you to say, you know what, there is more for me?
And it's so interesting. I really feel like our soul is always tugging at us to help us guide us in the right way, but our mind and society and conditioning gets in the way, right? So it wasn't even a moment. It was literally over the 2 decades that I was building my career, which I never loved, by the way. I never loved my career. It caused me so much stress. Every Sunday night, I would go to bed with my stomach in a knot, like really fearing the week ahead. I never loved it. I loved achieving, I loved being successful, but I didn't love the work that I was doing. And so my oldest child is turning 21 this year, and I can remember being pregnant with her. So we're talking 21 years ago. I'm pregnant with her, and I am on the phone because we didn't have Zoom. We didn't have any social media or any of that back then, even just 21 years ago. I remember being on the phone with the vice president of franchising for a gym because I was interested in maybe starting my own business. This was 21 years ago. Back then, there was not this online entrepreneurship that exists today. So, in order to be an entrepreneur back then, which we didn't even really use that word, in order to have your own business, I mean, you're looking at franchising, you're looking at physical businesses, the internet, it just wasn't this way. But I had the bug 21 years ago. Now, fear, uncertainty, all the things, risk stop me every time. But that continued about every couple of years. I would go and explore something. And your listeners will probably find this hysterical, but I can remember it must have been about 12 years ago now, again, still pre social media. Okay. I said to my husband, now I'm like, I have two kids at this point. I said to my husband, I have to leave. I have to do my own thing. I just don't know what that looks like. And I went to Entrepreneur magazine, right? So entrepreneur.com, Entrepreneur magazine. Back then, there was no online courses or any of those things. I literally ordered a binder. It was a 5-inch binder that came in the mail. Things you could find online today, right? But a 5-inch binder came in the mail, and I'm pouring through it, like learning about entrepreneurship. I mean, this is how long ago this has been on my heart and my soul. And I kept saying, well, when my kids are older, when they've gone to college, because here in the United States, we pay for college and it's very, very expensive. And I just kept saying someday, 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 someday. And I then had my third child 10 years ago. And I I just started to explore deeper. So I started to listen to podcasts because now podcasts were coming on the scene. I started reading some books that started opening up possibility for me. And then when I saw that there was this online entrepreneurial world that existed about maybe 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, I was hooked. I was like, okay, I mean, I know I can be successful. I've been successful in my career. I want to do something. And I love how the universe, the divine comes into play, to give you that final push. For the 16 years I was at IBM, they were mostly a remote workforce, meaning I lived the laptop life back in 2002. We could be remote. I would travel sometimes, but I could be remote. So I didn't miss my kids, like, school plays. I didn't miss things. I didn't have a commute. I was home. Didn't have a lot of flexibility. I was very, very busy there, but I was home. Well, wouldn't you know, IBM decided to change their strategy, their workforce strategy, like out of the blue, where they were going to have everyone go back into an office. And for me, the office was 2.5 hours one way. And it had to be that office. And I was the vice president at this point, and we were all being ordered, this is how it's got to be. And I was like, okay, God, universe, like, I get it. There's no way I'm commuting 5 hours a day when I have 3 children at home who I absolutely adore. This isn't happening. And so that was really, when we talk about the moment, that was the kick in the behind I'd been exploring and just knowing I wanted to do this for 2 decades. That was the moment I knew I needed to make it happen. But I have to tell you, I wanted it to happen faster than most. And I didn't want it to be like a side hustle that I was trying to build and all the things. So my husband at the time was a police officer. He since we retired him and all of that since I've started my business, but he was a police officer. And so, there was only so much money he was making, and I was the primary breadwinner. And I told him that in order for me to have the room mentally and financially to focus on building a business, I said, we're going to have to make some changes. And we had this huge house. It was so, like, the mortgage was insane. The taxes were crazy. I said, if we can sell this house and downsize, for me to have a runway to grow this business, to leave IBM, grow this business, like, I think that's what we need to do. And I give my whole family a lot of credit. We made that big, bold move so that I could pursue this dream. It was scary. I felt guilty. Making that decision at the time felt like I was being very selfish, but at the same time, I knew I had a vision for what was possible. And so, yeah, we sold the house to be able to put me on the path of building this business, which I know we'll get into the building of the business as well, because that definitely did not go super smooth at all in the beginning. And I like to share that because it's real. But yeah, it was a huge moment and a huge change in our life for me to be able to leave that career and start my own business.
Wow, what a story. And just want to highlight, just want to kind of celebrate your courage almost, like the courage to have the courage to move out of to move not just you not you. I think it's not just you or your husband. This is the whole family and downsize and the friends, there's a whole, everyone can probably feel not easy that decision actually is. So, and I just want to underline that sometimes those are decisions that actually are just pivotal moments of our life. So beautiful.
Well, because
So,
we feel trapped. We feel trapped, but we're really not, you know? And I think what I did was I made sure that I had this little radius that I was looking to then move to because I didn't want my kids changing schools. I wasn't going to completely upend their life. So I didn't want them changing schools. I remember went and I made sure that at least their bedrooms were going to be the same size or bigger than the ones they were in, because that's all they care about really when they're a teenager or going into their teenage years. Like you know, I made sure there was a pool because, we had a pool in the other house. There were just key things that I said, okay, I don't want to disrupt them too much, but at the same time, I'm trapped. I mean, I literally felt handcuffed to the lifestyle that we had because of the success that I had in corporate. And so we feel trapped, but I just, anyone that needs to hear this, like, there is so many solutions. Like, we think in black and white thinking, but when you get open to rethinking what's important, it's amazing the new possibilities. I literally felt trapped for 20 years. And I look back now and I'm like, you weren't trapped at all. You had an open door. You could have left anytime, but I wasn't there, And so that big decision has changed a lot for me in terms of actually seeing what's possible and being open to possibilities instead of thinking things were this way or that way. It's really powerful.
so powerful, so beautiful, and it's so true, isn't it? That there's always options. There's always option, and it's not black or white. There's not like death or life. It's actually not that radical. There's actually a lot of options. So beautiful. So let's get into your business. So you obviously have an
Yes.
amazing journey. So take us through, anywhere where you want to start, kind of maybe some of the struggles, or dive deeper into your kind of discovery of what you're teaching now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting because the coaching business was born from, like I said, my desire to help more women do the work they were meant to do in the world. And I had so many people saying to me, how did you do it? How did you leave IBM and all of these things? And I just knew that I had an opportunity. I have a lot of background in sales and marketing, right? I have my MBA. Had 20 years at IBM as a marketing vice president. I have sales background, and I just knew that I could help people. But it's funny because yes, I had all that experience, but I almost put it in a box and put it away because I felt like I was starting this new thing that I didn't know anything about. So I went into entrepreneurship, like actually almost forgetting all the other like talents and skills that I had because I almost thought they weren't relevant, and was like felt like such a newbie in the online space and being an entrepreneur because I'd never been an entrepreneur before and all these things. And I'll never forget, I was working with a coach at the time. I'm always working with someone, as I'm sure you are, as I hope everyone is, because we can't get out of our own way, right? And so I was working with this coach right in the beginning. I mean, I was investing in coaches and things when I hadn't even made any money in the business yet because I knew I needed to learn from people and to help me see me. And I remember her saying to me, I want you to get up and stand. She wanted me to stand on this like table and, talk with power about like what I do. And I just didn't have any power behind it. And she's like, wait a minute, I'm so confused. Weren't you a vice president at IBM? I'm like, yeah. She goes, haven't you spoken on LinkedIn stages for IBM and all that? I'm like, yeah. She's like, step up and talk about that. I'm like, but that doesn't have anything to do with me being she goes, yes, it does. It's you. It's all these skills you're bringing to the table. I share this so that anyone that's listening, don't compartmentalize. If you're about to go on to something new, you have a breadth of experience of you being you and all of this evidence of what you're capable of, bring it in. And so it took me a little bit to kind of like find my legs of being confident that I could really help people and be that entrepreneur. But I will tell you that the first 18 months, so I leave IBM, I leave that big salary, and everyone's rooting for me, including my husband, until, 18 months in, and I'm struggling. I mean, I would like make some money and then make nothing and couldn't find traction, and it was one of the hardest times because I wasn't going to give up on my dream, but my husband was like, "You're going to have to go get a job. This has got to break through." And he believed me in the beginning that I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be successful at this. No problem. It's going to happen." And I really believed that even when I wasn't yet. But I had to find so much belief in myself because my husband just was at this point of like, I want to believe this is going to happen. He said, "But this, you got to start working on your resume." And I was so close to like actually taking on like a contractor role, like maybe being a consultant, a marketing consultant with all of my background. And of course, I just wasn't willing to do that. And so I really went all in, again, invested to get help, and had the breakthrough in early 2020. And I will tell you that I really believe that there's no such thing as overnight success, but I do believe in overnight breakthroughs. And I experienced an overnight breakthrough in early 2020. And I also share this, which I think is really, really important. I'm not saying this doesn't happen, but I'm not saying it happens all the time. Your business is never going to be just this like continuous straight line up in revenue. It can, but if you are really trying to build a business that's in alignment to what you desire, how you want to build that business, for your lifestyle and all the things are going to shift and change. And so what happens is like, you might have 1 year you're up like this, and then you might go down a little bit, and then maybe you go have a big spike, and then it's not this straight line upwards. And so ever since that breakthrough, it's been incredible, but there's been ups and downs too. There's been ups and downs over the last 4 years, mostly in making sure I was building a business that was right for me. Because when I first started working, when I first had that breakthrough, I was working with a coach she was building her business in a way that then I thought I needed to build mine. And I got about a year in, was doing really well, like from that breakthrough till 1 year later, we hit 1 million. I mean, it was like incredible, right? When I say overnight breakthrough, but I was building a business that was not for me. She was building a business where she eventually wanted to sell the business. She was building a business where she wanted to have a team that was handling sales and doing all these things, and that she was really being that leader over a team. And I started building my business that way. And I woke up one day and I was like, "Oh, no, no, no. I've been here, done that. I used to have a huge team. I used to be an executive leader. Not what I want, not at all." And I had already started building this team and all of the things, and I had to like pivot, and it was hard. It was hard because, I think I had like 5 employees at the time, and I was bringing on some contracted coaches, and I realized this is not the life that I want. I started spending more time managing the people than I was on what I was really here to do in the world. And that is to create, that is to actually be working, teaching women, coaching women in group settings and speaking. And so I want to share this because I want to give everyone the permission to make sure that you're building your business in a way that is really in alignment with how you want not your life to look, your time, how you spend your time, but also really in alignment with like what lights you up, what lights you up. And so I would say in 2022, it was like a big year of like, whoa, I've got to redesign what I'm doing. And I'm keeping it light and lean on the team side and really building my business so that it can scale and grow both revenue and impact with the least amount of infrastructure possible, because that was important to me. And so that's been fun to kind of have that freedom now. And in the journey, again, mission's always been the same, helping women do the work that they love. For many of them, it's starting a business, building a business, growing a business. But I am noticing a big trend right now that work is looking very differently. We've got a lot of people that are actually becoming contractors, which isn't necessarily quote unquote entrepreneurship, but it isn't, it's a flavor of it. It's this freedom, so you've got people that are being consultants and they are maybe working for corporate, but they're doing it on their terms. Or I'm watching people, like right now, I have a client that's in our group. She's like a NASA scientist. Okay. She's, I think, in her late 50s, and she's not leaving NASA. Like, she's going to stay there, but she has this other stuff on her heart that she wants to bring out into the world and wants help in doing that. So I'm finding people that have successful careers that they love, but they want to, like, maybe write a book, start a podcast, start to speak. And it's exciting. That's exciting to me, right? To see these shifts. It's not all just about maybe just building a business and running a business. That's part of it. So what I noticed in my 4 years of really working with women to do the work that they love, some could just go. They would get the coaching, they'd get the learning, they get the strategies, and they'd go and they'd have success. But more often than not, people would stay stuck. I'm like, what's going on? And that those questions I would ask myself of, like, why aren't they taking action, is what led me down this journey of actually finding the right tools and strategies to actually help the inner transformation, right? The inner transformation. And I've tried lots of different things. In the last 18 months, human design and the gene keys is where I've really found the thing that's helping these women get to that breakthrough. And we can talk why next. But the reason I'm sharing this is kind of two big takeaways from what I was just sharing on the story. One, making sure that you're building a business or how you work in a way that is absolutely in alignment to you, not how someone else is telling you to do something, or you seeing someone else doing it in a way and it's not right for you. And second, always be curious. Always be curious. Be that, like, scientific, observer in your business, because it's going to give you clues to the next thing that you either create or a tool you bring in or how your business evolves. Because being that observer and problem solver, you're going to find the ways to best serve the clients that you're meant to serve.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. So many places to go. And we're certainly going to dive deeper into the human design and gene keys. One thing I just want to underline and highlight, and I know a lot of my listeners are going to be very curious about that because it's exactly the stage of their business maybe they're finding themselves in, is this moment where you said the infrastructure, the contrast that you saw of this business coach and the infrastructure that you were building. Can you take us a little bit more, give us a little bit more flavor? What is it that you didn't want? Obviously, a lot of employees and managing organizational structures and being very much a manager versus actually creator almost.
Yeah, it was this epiphany, and I can kind of put it into these words. I realized I didn't want to build a company. I wanted to build a movement, and I wanted to be the lead personality in that movement, if that makes sense. So, for example, I know there's lots of people who, they're building companies and they're going to, maybe eventually exit those companies. And your strategy when you are building a company, it can't be built off of just your personal brand. It can't just be built off of you, right? You've got to, it's a different thing. For me, I realized that I ultimately want to have massive impact. I want to be a household name. Like, that is actually what I want. I want my teachings and what I share and how I help people. Whether it's Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, I had the amazing opportunity to work with Bob Proctor and got to go have an incredible dinner with him and his wife a few months before he passed away. He was such an incredible mentor to me. his business model is what I want. Not his whole business model, but him, his teachings. Like he is going to live on in his legacy, right? I mean, he's still one of my board of advisors, but not. He's not even here on the in the physical sense. He's what I'm desiring to be like, and so my ultimate goal is that yes, I teach and I have programs where I teach people, but speaking, books, making appearances and helping maybe even companies, and coming in and speaking to them. And that's actually what I want. And so it's funny, I have this epiphany that it's not this big sales team and marketing team and all these things I want to build from a company standpoint. I want a few amazing employees that do a lot of the detail work that I definitely don't want to do or have any time to do. And then I really more need like PR and an agent, like those are two totally different businesses. And so, but I didn't know it until I started to explore deeper of always asking myself the question, but what do you really want? What's the end goal? What does the vision look like 5, 10, 20 years from now? And my recommendation is that you find, I've heard the word used, expanders. Find someone that has that lifestyle, that legacy, what it is you desire, and keep them in the front of your mind, and don't get distracted with like other business models and other types of people that are amazing, but that's not what, like Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't want to own those kinds of businesses and run all, like that doesn't light me up. That will light some people up. So really always kind of taking that pulse on what's that vision? What is that vision that you see? I've always said, well, eventually I just want to write books and write books and write books and speak everywhere. Like, but okay, so if that's the end goal, why are you trying to build a company? And so it's been this moment of really checking in with myself and then making sure that I'm learning from people that actually have the model that I want.
Love it. So beautiful. So beautiful. So many powerful insights. But just this, continuous connection to the vision. I can feel that this is something that you've been thinking deeply and probably think daily and weekly about. And what a beautiful thing to do. So take us to the discovery of human design and how kind of that came to your life and Gene Keys and what does it mean to you?
Well, it's so funny because the very first time I ever heard of human design, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I was like, what is this thing? It's weird, not interested. I actually said that twice when it came to human design. One, I was like, okay, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I'm going to give you my birthday and time and location. Like, that's silly. And I just like poo-pooed it. I'm a very logical person. Like, I'm logical and I'm woo at the same time. It's like interesting. But I was like, no. And I wasn't ready for it. You know how they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear? Well, the same thing is true with these kinds of things. I think that when the student is ready, the tools will appear as well. And so I kind of was like, no, no, no. And then it came up again. And I'm like, well, seems so interesting. I've been hearing a lot more about it. I'm going to go check it out again. Right. And so I started to explore it a little further. And I said no again. I was like, this is confusing. It's, I don't know if you've ever seen the human design body graph, but there's lots of numbers and there's like all these, I'm like, what is this? And I said no again. And someone said to me, I still don't even know where it came up. Someone had said to me, well, have you ever looked at the gene keys? And I was like, no, what's that? And the gene keys are literally the same thing as human design. Richard Rudd, who created the gene keys, he was one of the star students of Ra Uru, who created human design. So it's all based on the same system, which the way I look at both of them, it's a mix of quantum physics with ancient wisdom and the divine spirit in every single one of us. It's like it's kind of that combination. It's this idea that we are all energy, as Albert Einstein, so eloquently said, everything is energy. That's all there is to it. It's not philosophy. This is physics. And so me being this logical science type of person, this really started to like resonate in a really big way with me that we are energetic beings and we're all wildly different. People feel our energy. Well, I know we can't touch that, but it's real. And when it comes to marketing and sales, it's energy. It is energy. People are going to buy from you based on, does that energy attract or does that energy repel? And you're going to repel the people that aren't right for you, and you're going to attract the ones that are right for you. And it's all meant to be that way. So I started to get very interested in it from this energetic and marketing, quite frankly, capability. But the Gene Keys are a much simpler version. And I like simple. I love simple. My clients, my students will always say to me that, they're just so grateful that one of the gifts that I have is to take something very complex and I can make it very simple so that people can actually digest it and take it in. That's always been a strength of mine. Even when I was at IBM doing things I didn't like, it was like, that's something I can do. And so I started with the Gene Keys. And it was a great way to kind of more simply bring this in. My students, my clients were loving it. I was having huge breakthroughs. And then I decided to go deeper with human design from there. And this is how I like to look at it. We are all so different. We know this, right? We all know how different we are. We all are a culmination of our just inherent divine given strengths and genius and all the junk from our childhood, from society, from all the things, right? And we're kind of like, you kind of pull all those things together. And so what I have come to how I've now used human design, the Gene Keys with my clients, again, all my clients, all my students are all in a different part of the same process of really ensuring that they are doing the work that they were meant to do in this world. They all believe that, that they're here for a reason. Not all of them feel they're necessarily on the right path right now. Some are on the right path, but really need help in what is their message? What is that thing that they want to be known for, right? Like everyone's like on that edge of that. And what I found for human design, especially, the image of the body graph, everyone has a very unique body graph. And to me, it is the actual image of your energy, yes, but it's an actual image of your strengths, your genius, of what you're meant to do in the world. And now I believe that people have to have their own breakthrough. I don't do readings because I can't tell you about you. Okay. I can tell you what's on the page. I can tell you what's on these numbers. But if you don't inherently have a literal shift in your body and transformation of your own in studying your own design, it's not going to do anything. And so I teach people how to look at their own design. I teach people how to see themselves for the greatness that they've been created for. And here's what happens. It's so cool. The clarity, the confidence, and the conviction that come out from these women when they see like how they were made, like how probably God divine sees them, takes them to the next level, right? It's like I have the chill saying it's so cool. So when I'm coaching people, and I do everything in group for the most part, I teach and then I also do coaching. If I'm coaching someone on Zoom, I have their body graph up and we are using that as a tool as we're working through whatever they're going through in their business, in their messaging, in their sales and marketing strategies, all of these things, their offers. And it's just been incredible, incredible. So to me, it's about keeping your eyes open for the right tool that you probably need, but also your clients and students need to help them get to that next level. And if you're paying attention, it'll get revealed. And it's been a blast. Now, I will tell you, human design has become a lot more popular in recent years. And like, as one of my coaches will say, everyone and their chihuahua is teaching, human design. Now, I take things very seriously. So, I have my master's in business, climbing the ladder at IBM. I mean, I had to like have my credentials. And so I'm serious about this as well. And so I actually am in a multi-year certification process with the official schools. So there's the International Human Design School, but Ra Aruhu, who created it all, he also, this is not well known, created a business side of all this. And it's called BG5, the BG5 Business Institute. And it's, again, one of the official schools. And I'm in that multi-year certification process with them because I want to differentiate myself in the very noisy human design space, because to me, this is a difference maker for people. And I want to really have that backing and those credentials. So I'm taking it very seriously. It's been a lot of money and time. I feel like I'm like a student at the same time as, building my business. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this business element is very unique because, and it's also so applicable, isn't it? So applicable to the actual business questions, which I think what makes it so different. Um, that's beautiful. So is there anything that you've learned about yourself that was a very big revelation for you, that was like aha moment, or help you with your vision? Because you got so clear on your vision, drastically clear, and it's so different to anything you ever done before. Does that kind of play a role in it at all?
100%. It's like I got to see what I'm capable of, and it literally busted the door open of where I could go. I could always go there, but I couldn't see myself, right, in that way. So for me, the two big things. One, there's a part of human design that, and this is what's so fascinating. In the whole human design frenzy, people kind of just think of one thing. They say what they are. Oh, I'm a manifesting generator. I'm like, okay, well, there's so much more to your design than saying that. And so the depth is amazing. But there's one piece that there's not a lot of information on. It's very high level, and it's called your profile. You have like two numbers. So like I'm a 2-4. Okay, 2-4. There's 12 different iterations of that. And what I have come to understand now in my studies is that each of those 12 profiles, they are like your brand type. They give you a window into the right sales and marketing strategies for your energy. And so for me, learning that I was a 2-4, which is the natural influencer, there are marketing and sales strategies that I have tried that will not work for me. And I'm great at marketing. Okay. And then others that it's like works like crazy. And so I've been doing all different marketing strategies for 4 years. Coming into understanding my human design and knowing that I'm a 2-4, I'm like, oh my God, I could see why. Like, so for me, people need to hear my voice. They need to experience me. They need to be around me for a bit so I can help to open up their hearts. I can be influential. They can experience my voice and all these things, right? So live launching has worked for me like you can't even imagine, like amazing. I try to do a quiz funnel into a evergreen webinar into an email sequence. Cannot tell you how many different iterations of that thing I have tried over nothing. I mean, like, I'll bring people in on leads and then nothing converts. I'm like, what is going on? It's because they're meant to be in my energy. That will work for some types, right? For some profiles. But for me, not so much. And it's like, wow. And so here's the coolest thing. I went from trying to figure out this automation evergreen thing, right? To going, forget that. I'm going all in on what I know works, because energetically, that's how people connect with me. And it's been freeing. That's one. The other big epiphany was in working with my own coach on my design. I mean, the first, she looks at it, she's like, oh, wow, you're here for something big. You have a big platform and message that you are here to bring across. And she would show me where and what was going on. And even what the essence of that message is, which is what I help my clients with now. And I feel it to my bones. And what's so cool sometimes with human design is that often, if you've been on at least the right trajectory, the right path, it's nothing but confirmation. Okay. It's like this confirmation you're on the right path. And so, really, me understanding my design has done two big things with confirmation. Like things in my marketing words, I would say, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm right on the right path. But also, that's what helped me get to that epiphany that I'm not here to build a company. I'm really here to have a platform and a message and to be a personality that can help change people's lives. Like that also was very clear after I began to study my design as well. And it just gave me that push to go all in with confidence that that's the direction that I should go in.
So beautiful. So what human design are you? So you're 2/4.
I'm a 2/4. I'm a 2/4 natural influencer. And then from a type standpoint, I'm what's called a manifesting generator. In business, we call it an express builder. And again, that's like scratching the surface because it's really that full picture of my body graph and all the elements that make up the whole thing. And I think people get stuck on, well, I'm this, I'm a manifesting generator, so this means this. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, if that was the case, there'd only be 4 kinds of people in the world. We know that's not the case, right? We are so unique. The iterations that are possible, I mean, it's like snowflakes. How different each of us are in our body graphs, right? And it holds these incredible clues. So I don't even love to even say, oh, I'm a 2/4 manifesting generator, because it doesn't even begin to show the essence of the reality of what I'm here to do. It's really, really interesting.
So interesting. So interesting. And I'm just curious, what is your date of your birthday?
September 17th.
Oh wow. Yeah, I knew it. It was interesting. I got very it was a bit of it's interesting. I got really kind of nerdy and deep into numerology
Ooh.
recently, and everything you were saying, I was saying to myself, she's an 8, she's an 8, she's an 8. And 8 means it's when you sum your date of your birthday, 1 and 7, it becomes an 8. And some of the things you said, I
Interesting.
was like, she's an 8, she's 100% an 8. And it was very curious. And one of the key strengths of an 8, of course, 8 is anyone who knows numerology, those are the people that they're very connected to business and material world. They always take very senior positions. They run very successful businesses. And they're also a lot of times business coaches because they help others to make money. This is kind of their key essence. But also what you said was very powerful. You said, I make complex things very simple. And that's kind of like, this is what 8 do. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Which actually, with you saying that, out of the 5 of us in my family, my one son he's born on the 17th of July. He's so all that too. So that's interesting.
So interesting. I got so deep into it and I was like, it blew my mind. But yeah, it's just one of the other pieces that just, yeah. And
I
it's,
love it.
yeah, it's just like when you discover something, and this is why this conversation is so beautiful. When you discover something like human design, gene keys, numerologies, and you first think, this is ridiculous. Well, just some of my numbers and it tells me about me. That cannot be. But when you read it, you're like, oh my word, that is so me. I don't know how, how you can tell me about me better than I know myself. And this is where I guess where people have those aha moments and they become
Yeah.
converted for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, it's because at the end of the day, whatever tool works, I have a lovely friend who is an expert in the Enneagram. I mean, that's another tool, right? There's all these tools. I think the goal is to elevate clarity, confidence, and conviction. If you can help another soul elevate those 3 things, they're going to go out and do good things in the world. And that is all goodness to me. That's how I look at it.
So beautiful, so beautiful. So, what programs, if people wanted to dive deeper into your world, of course, your podcast, amazing podcast, and we'll leave all the links to the podcast so people can dive deeper into your world and really experience your energy. If people want to explore more about your world, what programs do you have, your courses, where should people go to?
So I'm a firm believer that you really need to become a student of you. So the better you know your design, the better you're going to be able to go out and do things in the world. So my signature, and really I have everyone in it before I'll even work with them one-on-one, I call it Her Design School. And I literally am teaching you your design. And it's incredible. I'm obsessed with it because I'm really treating it like a school. Every Monday I give a live lecture every Monday, and everyone's got their body graph up and I'm teaching them. And then what I do is I also have, a syllabus of what to take in the school and coming to those live lectures, because I want women to become empowered with understanding their design. And from there, people can go and get business coaching. They can, work with me one-on-one, things like that. But that's the foundation that I really, I want everyone in order to go deeper, because I'm going to pull up your body graph to go deeper. And if you don't know it, then,
Amazing. That's fantastic.
Her Design School. Yep. herdesignschool.com. And in my design, I am a teacher. And so I literally love teaching what I teach. And what I'm teaching is how people can learn more about themselves specifically, which is really cool.
So amazing. So amazing. Well, we'll leave all the details in the show notes. Guys, go and check out Julie, dive deeper into her world. And I think what makes you so different is, of course, you have this huge wealth of experience and business experience. But also it's such a different side of human design and Gene Keys. And I think you just go at a different level, and it's so applicable to business or what people want to create. If they want to become a speaker, a podcaster, it's like what their element, and really helping them apply that to their business life. I think this is what's so powerful. So guys, go check it out. And it's been a pleasure to have you here today on the podcast. Julie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.